Today, we are talking about one of the most exciting AI companies in the enterprise tech space. Arvind Jain started Glean in 2019, before ChatGPT and before the AI boom. Why? Because he was frustrated that he couldn't search for data of his own earlier company Rubrik, which he had co-founded. Fast forward to today, Glean crossed $100 million in ARR early this year, and they are doubling it. They are building what Arvind calls a better version of ChatGPT for enterprises, an AI assistant that actually knows your company's data, not just the intranets. With over 1,100 employees, Glean is seeing global tech giants copy what Arvind and his team did. In the latest episode of ET in the Valley, he tells me what it's really like to create an entirely new category, why being conservative was his biggest mistake, and why he has never been more optimistic. It's Wednesday, the 31st of December. I'm Swati Murthy. This is the Morning Brief. Hi, Arvind. Great to have you with us. You started Glean in 2019.
Yeah.
And you had crossed 100 million ARR in early 2025. As you head towards the 200 million mark, what surprised you and worried you the most in this journey?
Well, today, the business is growing quite rapidly. We have more than doubled from where we ended our last year. And I think we see a big growth ahead of us as well. In terms of challenges, we've gone through like a usual challenge that any other startup goes through. Like when we started, we built a product, but nobody knew about us. And nobody, in fact, even were used to buying a product that we were selling. We were building something that they never buy. They don't buy a thing like that. And so then you have to actually create extra dollars, extra budgets, to make room for a new technology purchase like ours. In a market like that, when you're defining a new category, but it takes time to actually get those initial customers. But once you achieve some success, you're also known as a pioneer and a category creator, which is what like today we're known as. You will see oftentimes, in media, people talking about how so many other large companies are coming and trying to build a product like Glean because, we got that recognition as being the category creator, as being the first, to bring transformers and generative AI into the enterprises. So I think now the path is different for us. Like now we don't have to convince our customers to actually buy a product like ours, like in the sense that they already know that they need something like Glean, and that allows us to actually go and scale faster.
You spent a decade at Google and then you co-founded Rubrik. What made you start again and why this problem in specific?
Yeah, like Glean was very easy, like as a product that we wanted to build because it was for us. I personally, in every one of my jobs before, really struggled to have answers to questions that I have. And whenever I need to find something inside the company, it would be a nightmare. You could never find anything internally. Sometimes you'd find documents, but they look, out of date and stale. And most of the times you don't find anything. In Rubrik, we grew very fast. With that fast growth, actually, ultimately, we came to a place where our productivity came to a screeching halt. We were not able to release our software. So we would ask what is happening in the company, what are the problems, and one of the biggest things that people complained about was not being able to find things inside the company or not being able to get help from people with their tasks. As an employee, for me to get my job done, I need to have quick access to information. I need to have access to people who can help me do my job. This was a big problem for us. We were scoring very low in our pulse survey on that question. That problem was very relatable to me. And so that's sort of what led to the creation of Glean. It is also coming back, to my roots because I worked at Google for a long time and I worked on Google search. I led many of those teams. And search is always an exciting problem for me. And this time, we had to solve the same problem, but in a different context, which is, inside a business.
Would you say your life has come a full circle?
Certainly, and I think like search is like most exciting, to me because it's like magic. For a long time, Google was like magic. Like, you could actually type in one or two words and you can misspell those words, but somehow Google would read your mind and bring that information back to you. So there's a lot of, amazing things, that we did at Google, which was magical. And the thing, as a developer like of that technology, the most fun thing was that you are a user of that product yourself. Like every day internally when I was working at Google, we would ask questions in Google all the time, and sometimes we'll get the answers back, sometimes we won't. But when we didn't, my curiosity would go up, and I would try to go back and see why that is. Like why is Google not surfacing the information I want at the top? And so it's sort of like when you use the products and they don't work well, then you get that drive to actually go and make them better. Like if you feel like you can do it, right? So that's the thing that I really like about search, is that we're building a product for ourselves.
Have you actually solved the problem you set out to solve when you started Glean?
I mean, I think we've solved a good part of it. We built a really good product. We have actually solved even more than what we thought. Glean is the first enterprise generative AI company in the world.
Oh, interesting.
To the best of our knowledge, we started in early 2019. At that time, language models were not really the talk of the town. They were not that popular. In fact, initially, this technology was built at Google to make Google search better. But at the time, none of us actually knew how good these models were going to become in the next few years. Our sort of vision only went as far as that, it'll allow us to build a great search product. We at that time did not think about that machines will be able to write like humans. We actually at that point didn't feel like machines could actually also reason at a level of a human. And now they've gotten close to that, sometimes even better. We're not just a Google like search experience inside your company. Today, think of as a better version of ChatGPT. It's an AI assistant. You go to Glean, you ask it any questions, or you give it some tasks, complex tasks to do, and it's going to answer those questions or complete those tasks using all of the world's knowledge and wisdom, but also using all of your internal company's data, knowledge, information, and context. In that sense, like Glean becomes that one-stop shop, like one place where you can go and you can get a lot of work done at Glean. It is a place where AI technology comes together with your company's context to help you with your day-to-day tasks.
Arvind, you were an early mover in an enterprise AI space, but now it's crowded with companies like Elastic and other enterprises building in-house tools. Do you worry about losing market share? And more importantly, is being first still an advantage in the AI landscape currently?
We're too early to lose market share. Like we are building our business, and so like we are more than doubling or tripling our business every year. So we are in the build out phase. There is a lot of competition. There are a lot of people who have come and solved the problem the way we do. But as you said, we're the pioneers, and we have that recognition for being the best, product in the market by far. For us to succeed in a business, we always have to make sure that we build great technology, but then we also make it very accessible. Like especially, for example, in the India market, we want to make sure we're not actually very deeply penetrated in the India market yet. That's a big goal for us now. We have a big presence in India from the beginning, but now we've actually also aggressively building our sales team, and we will make sure that it's actually priced and it's affordable, and it's because I think our goal is to first add value. That's sort of the way we think about our business.
You mentioned India earlier. How big is your team in the country right now?
We're probably more people. We do a lot of our core technology development, R&D, and we have a large office in Bangalore. We must have like at least 300 people there.
Oh, does it mean at least quarter of your workforce is in India?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we've been growing fast. So we've been growing fast. So like, in fact, I don't have the latest numbers, but the last I checked, was I think about 1100 to was north of 1100. So, and I think we do have about 300 people in Bangalore. We built Glean, with that in many ways. Like for example, for our core technology development, we wanted this model of like equal contribution from both of these locations, from Silicon Valley and Bangalore. Like we did the same at Rubrik, and I did the same at Google. I ran Google India, and I established our R&D presence there early on.
Where does India stand from a revenue and the growth perspective?
See, India is one of the largest economies in the world, and there are like a lot of amazing large enterprises, which is what our focus is. We sell to large businesses generally. We also sell to mid-size, and we hope to grow our business like probably like 10 times next year, and then the same the year, because starting with such a small base. So huge growth is what we're going to be looking for like next year in India.
How is the Buying dynamics and the demand patterns changing, because if you look at enterprises, their willingness to pay has always been low, and the current explosion of AI products and subscriptions aren't really helping. Are you seeing genuine willingness to pay?
There is a lot of interest for AI technologies. Like the Indian companies they're smart. I mean, like they know that they have to invest in AI, and that it could actually bring a lot of higher profits and higher capacity to do more, like increase your top line. So people understand it. So therefore, no, I don't actually see it being any behind than any other market in terms of the cost and all that. Companies are very eager to capture market share. Like the pricing is in some ways proportional to value, but it also sometimes is even less than that, because it also has to be somewhat related to what is your cost of building it. I like to think of technology like that. I myself like to buy technology which is fairly priced, and so we won't actually go and not do the same ourselves. Yeah.
Arvind, you've been doubling and sometimes even tripling your revenue year after year. At the same time, there is a growing talk in the Silicon Valley about an AI bubble. Do you expect this momentum to sustain? And how are you preparing for that risk?
Yeah. From a point of view of that enormous interest in AI, it is there for a good reason, because we know that AI is going to fundamentally redefine our world. Yes, you can also say there's a bubble, like in some ways. When you have companies defy like standard ways of valuing companies, and you have companies that are worth tens of billions of dollars on day one without having produced any technology, it's sort of like a land grab or a gold rush kind of situation, where a lot of companies get very high valuations because the talent that's in those companies, there's a belief that will actually create a lot of business value. So that's what is driving all of this. But I think what doesn't change is the fact that this is very meaningful technology. But I think we also, in some ways, we don't think of ourselves that, hey, we're an AI company. That's not how we think about it. We are solving the problem of, in some ways, how do you connect organizations better? How do you make information access much easier for people so they can do their jobs faster? And how do you sort of bring automation as a result, higher accuracy in most of the work that you do, right, through AI? We think of ourselves as a productivity platform, and AI is a tool, it's a technology that we use behind the scenes. We've been solving a problem that existed before this AI bubble, as if you want to call it AI bubble, and we're solving the same problem right now. Is AI has become a awesome tool to actually help us solve that problem.
Arvind, AI has flattened the playing field. Tools are now much widely available, creation is much easier, and the products can be built much faster. In the previous era, being the first was a real advantage. But in the current era, with so many tools coming in and enterprises building them in house, has AI sort of killed the first mover advantage, or does it still matter?
As a first mover, yes, you get some benefits.
Yeah.
But they get quickly eroded, like if you don't execute. You have to keep executing. The technology world has not been allowing anybody to just like sit steady, because you just entered the market first, with or without AI. So this is a competitive industry. The customers are also very aggressive in terms of, like, they want the best technology to be available to them, and they are willing to shift. AI has not fundamentally changed the landscape in this following way. If we don't embrace AI, then yes, you'll put on the site and you're not going to succeed. But AI is also table stakes. We're all using it. So the same advantage that somebody else may have because they can use AI, we also have it.
Right.
Right. So it doesn't really change the relative playing field for startups. And I don't think actually AI fundamentally makes it super quick for you to build a product. Like, building products will take time, but to actually really solve problems in a meaningful way and add business value, you have to actually do a lot of work behind the scenes, integrations and security and understanding business context. And there's a lot of complexity in what we do. And a lot of these learnings come only after you deploy your product at multiple customers, and then it stops working at some places. And that's how you learn new challenges and you solve them. So I think all it has done for us, AI, is that, like, it's such a powerful new technology. And we just have to make sure that we actively take advantage of all the innovation that is coming out there.
Does the pace of change keep you up at night?
Yeah, I'm up at night all the time. Like, there's no shortage of, stress and issue. Like, we have a lot of problems to solve. Like, as a startup, like, it's always a difficult journey. You always have lots and lots of things, that are not going well, and you have to go and fix that. And of course, when technology moves so fast, when our underlying foundation is shifting, it creates even more stress. Not just for me, it actually creates stress for our engineering teams. When they build some technology, before they would have a time horizon, there's some time to sort of build, think, design, implement, and the technology would, sit there for a year or two. And like now, your shelf life for technology is much smaller because of AI. And and so it just feels like unstable foundation. And we have to be really, really sharp. Like, we cannot there's no time to rest. Like, you're on this really fast moving treadmill that you can't get off.
What would you say was your biggest mistake?
There are numerous mistakes, and I will list like some big ones. I don't know if they're the biggest ones. Fundamentally, I think we've been like too conservative on certain fronts. And for example, we didn't really build a large marketing team, even though we had a great product and a unique product. Like, we should have gone much bigger, much faster. But we sort of grew in a more judicious manner.
Is this a typical Indian mindset?
Yeah, it's probably like my upbringings probably have a lot to do with it. But the good thing is that we still have in our domain, in our space, as a horizontal enterprise AI platform, our product is so far ahead of anybody else's. And so we are now, of course, more aggressive in terms of making sure the world knows about us.
You have seen enterprise up close at Google, Rubrik, and now at Glean. How has the enterprise business itself changed over the last decade or so?
I think I would say the one of the key changes. Let's talk about the last 1 year or last 2 years, because there's a big change in the last 1 or 2 years because of AI. I think there's a lot of thinking like how to redefine organizations, because now with AI, so much of the work that we do as humans manually can be done by AI. Never in my career have we seen this sort of real thought of like, hey, like we need to really rethink our company, our people, our organization, and organize differently. Like, changes have always been incremental, but this one like feels like the biggest step function. And so right now you hear talks about, well, you could be a one person company and build $1 billion business, or a 10-person company and do that, which I don't think is really feasible. But people are really actively thinking about that. I sort of have a very different point of view on all of this, which is I think like it's not as if AI is going to like suddenly let you do the same amount of business that you were doing, with one third or one fourth the workforce that you have advantages with AI. What you deliver today to your customers, you can build it with maybe half the number of people or a fourth of the people that you had. But that won't be enough to actually get paid anymore, because your competitors also have that same access. So it's just like, raises the bar, it raises the quality of the products that we'll be able to enjoy as consumers. But does it make it easier for you to build a business with AI? The answer is no. It's just that the bar gets lifted for everyone.
Now, Arvind, let's shift to much broader questions in the AI landscape. Geopolitics, for instance. Sovereign AI and data sovereignty has become central. Does it make it easier or harder to scale companies and products globally?
In many ways, AI is making it easy for us to create global businesses. For example, I don't have to internationalize, localize my product anymore in many ways, because AI understands language so much better. Like, imagine like, our product, you come in, you ask questions, you give a task, and it gives the answers back. And guess what? Like, without us, like, well, I guess we have to do some work, but because of the nature of who we are, but in general, you don't have to actually really like spend that, time and effort. And over the years, build support for 190 languages. You have support for 190 languages on day one because of the power of AI models. Sovereign model is a bigger concept right now than sovereign cloud. I don't think that also necessarily really changes the ability for a company to like be in many, many different markets. It hasn't really added any, impediments to us. If at all, like I said, it's better.
How do you see the company evolving, and what does the next phase of growth look like for you?
Well, we're going to more than double this year in terms of revenue. But like, and then hopefully, that kind of trajectory is going to continue for many more years. So like, we see a multi-billion-dollar business, here. Like, the market is huge. We don't see anytime like saturating the market. So as long as we compete, as long as we build a better product, we have large growth ahead of us.
And as a closing comment, Arvind, what are the 3 things that you're most excited and worried about?
I think from a things that I'm excited about, like AI technology continues to surprise us, like a lot of great advances. And the really big thing that we're looking for next year is, this concept of AI being truly proactive and, AI coming to you as an individual. Like, so all of us, like as individuals, are going to have this deeply personal AI companion that knows everything about us and our work life, and is able to truly understand what work we need to get done on a daily basis on this, in my current week, and start to do most of that work for me proactively before I even ask AI to help me. That will be the lever that's going to actually take AI from, like today, the early adopters are using it more, and a lot of people are still not getting value from AI. It's going to change, because once AI comes to people, then it can add value to everyone without as a individuals making the effort on their own. In terms of what we're worried about, like how we don't lose our way from an execution perspective, how do we make sure that we have a robust, fantastic roadmap, a great team, a team that is motivated, and set clear directions, for our organization so that we can execute at the right pace. But yeah, I would close myself by saying that I've never been more optimistic.
Thanks a lot, Arvind. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
That was Arvind Jain, founder and CEO of Glean. And here are my 3 big takeaways from this conversation. Category creation takes time, but pioneers get remembered. Being too conservative can cost you. Arvind wished he had scaled faster and gone bigger earlier. AI might make businesses easier, but it also raises the bar for everybody. The real advantage, it's the execution. That's it for today. This is the latest episode of ET in the Valley. I am your host, Swati Murthy. This episode was produced by Anirban Chowdhury, sound designed by Indranil Bhattacharjee. Keep listening to ET in the Valley every Wednesday, the morning brief on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, and Corner Office Conversation on Mondays. We are not dropping an episode on Thursday, but we'll see you on Friday. Happy New Year!